Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so honored to have with us today Gabriella Levine. Gabriella, welcome to Green is Good.
Thank you. Thank you.
Gabriella, you're one of the most fascinating individuals we've ever had on this show, and we're so honored for your time today. And we could spend the whole hour with you, but we've only got 15 minutes. Gabriella, I've read all about you, but our listeners haven't. And I want our listeners to understand your fascinating journey and how you became not only a creative technologist and interactive artist, but really you are a technology and ecological savant. And I want you to show how you've merged both technology and ecology into the amazing work and art that you're working on right now. Talk about your journey.
So I started my career as a child. I was doing classical piano.
Sure.
And then I eventually went to school, graduated from college, and was doing cancer research.
Wow.
Both of these fields weren't enough combining both the technical and the creative, and I ended up moving away from both classical piano and cancer research and ended up moving into a field that was really both technical and creative. And so I started working with hardware. I started programming, started to teach myself programming, and just working hands-on with kinetic sculptures. And what I eventually moved into was this field of physical computing and interactive design, and really programming and doing hardware design, but really bringing in my passion for organic motion, for biology. And my passion really has to do with making biological motion in hardware. But I also have this passion for exploring outside and really want to adventure and explore everywhere I can. And so a lot of the stuff that I'm building is these hardware kits or robotic vehicles that could explore the environment,
Wow.
collect environmental data, send it back. And so I really am working in this context of making robots or making environmental field kits to collect data, send it back, and really about exploring, being creative, working hands-on, and being very technical.
Wow. So I read in your about you were working on and are working on open hardware robotic shape-shifting sailboats. The key word in that is beyond robotic is sailboats. And I read that you've just come back at some point from going around the Earth via sailboat?
Yeah, so actually we were going around the Earth via a big ship. It was on a fellowship program that was an accelerator for the company called Prote.
Okay.
And Prote, as you said, it's a shape-shifting sailing robot. Originally, it was designed to clean up oil spills and to enable local communities to take a hands-on approach by releasing all the hardware and the technical design. So it's an open hardware project. Wow. And it was started in 2010 by Cesar Harada. And he just eventually started publishing online this idea, really formed a community of people and I joined in 2011 once he crowdsourced, fundraised some money. So we got together in Rotterdam, and it was a team of about 10 people, designers, engineers, marine biologists from all over the world. And we were building the sixth prototype of a 10-foot robotic sailing vessel.
Oh.
We kept working on the project, and then this past May, I returned from this accelerator program called Unreasonable at Sea. And what that is a partnership between Semester at Sea, which is a floating university for college undergrads, mostly American college students, and about 600 of them were there. And it's also a partnership between the Stanford D School, which is out in Stanford. It's sort of a design school, but not really a design school and not really a school even in and of itself. People come from all sectors from Stanford to really unlock the potential through this design thinking methodology to really have big impact. And so we were going around the world on this accelerator program, doing community outreach, field testing, user research. We were building vessels under the boat on the second floor of the boat that was sort of under the water. We sort of set up a workshop and really made smelly fumes. And I don't know if the captains really liked this very much, but we made 3 prototypes in 4 months on this vessel.
Wow.
On the boat. We tested in Vietnam, Japan. In Japan, we worked with a company called SafeCast, who they're proliferating open source Geiger counters. And so we worked to measure radioactivity off the coast of Fukushima with these Geiger counters and tested our sailboat, then tested it in Barcelona. We really went west from California, from San Diego to Ensenada, then to Hawaii, Japan, China, all around India, around the coast of Africa, and then ended in Barcelona. And then finally flew to Washington, D.C. for our final culminating event, which was at the Department of State, and it was a pitch event called Unreasonable at State. So we did a lot of pitching, working with amazing mentors like Tom Chi from Google X, or people from Microsoft, and the founder of WordPress, Matt Mullenweg. So it was an amazing experience, really developing things and thinking about things critically with regards to the company and how we could proliferate an open source hardware project, yet still be a sustainable company.
What was your biggest lesson that you pulled out of that whole journey, though, just yourself? Like, how did that shift your thinking, that whole journey shift your thinking for future work that you wanted to do and what you wanted to accomplish?
Well, I think the two main things that I really got out of that are really like think organizationally about how much time I need to be spending hands-on field testing, developing, and how much time I want to be creating this business model, because it's very hard to sort of balance both and do managerial tasks, be really creative, and work hands-on to proliferate something. So that's something that I think it's really taught me to plan ahead. And it's also, I mean, I've worked very technically and very creatively, but never did I really work so much so from a business perspective. And so really thinking about things and how they fit into the world, and the world as this global place, and really going around and working with people all over was the most amazing thing. So I think that just working hands-on, I really saw how universally needed hands-on engagement with technology, but not necessarily technology, just really working creatively hands-on. That's a lot of what we did with people around the world, and that I realized how meaningful that is.
Well, you know, for our listeners who just tuned in, we're so excited to have Gabriela Levine on with us right now. You know, to learn more about her amazing work way beyond this show, please go to two websites, protei.org, protei.org, or GabrielaLevine.com. Gabriela, you just brought something up that's very important. Where does art, technology, and business intersect in what you're doing, all three of those?
Well, everything that I'm doing actually has to do with art, and I guess by art, a lot of the work really has to do with humans communicating with each other through technology, because I really work in this technical, interactive field. But also, I think that really has to do with being entrepreneurial as well, because I want to have impact. Therefore, I want to proliferate the work I do. And also, so I deal a lot with technology as a means to allow people to communicate better with each other. So also, like some of these robots that I'm building, and Protei, and other exploratory hardware kits, they also have to do with connecting people to the environment. But I don't just want to work in an area where I'm proliferating kits and selling them.
Right.
I find that working in a creative field and exhibiting at sort of art festivals, but also really exploring theoretically what the potential is of these technologies, what the potential of people using creative technologies is going to be, that has to be done not just in a sort of scientific or entrepreneurial field, but really thinking about things creatively. And so I think that's where that exploratory nature comes in, and that's why I work in an art field, not just science or oceanography or entrepreneurial.
What's the next thing for you? I mean, you're still very, very young, and you've had already some amazing experience. I would take the rest of my show to share with our listeners all the amazing awards and everything, how you've been honored around the world. You're truly one of the great thought leaders right now, where technology is intersecting with art and creativity, robotics, and the environment. What's the future? Where do you want to now spend your next evolutionary time on changing the world?
Well, so as I just said, there's there's these sort of three or even more things to balance: entrepreneurship, artistic development, and sort of theoretical research, and then sort of scientific or proliferating these scientific tools and allowing people to themselves take a hands-on approach to exploring the environment or connecting with people. So I am trying to balance all these three. What I'd like to do, I think I'd like to do a lot of things, but one is spend some more time doing more critical research, and perhaps that has to do with being in some, like, connected with an institution and some institutional backing, and maybe actually studying more. But also, I want to also be connected with sort of the corporate world, which has a lot of power and finances behind it, and has the ability to outreach. And so that's why I want to maintain this entrepreneurial aspect. And I guess, the last thing is just continue to engage people. I guess my goal is to really have, through being entrepreneurial, through being critical and maybe academic, and then through being connected with some sort of corporate, either company or business, really being able to have the most impact that is able to make the tools that I make reach people, allow them to work hands-on, and really find meaning in exploring the environment and communicating with other people using creative technologies as well.
I believe it's, we're becoming, and it is, a woman's world now, and your generation is really going to break through every glass ceiling that ever existed anymore, whether it's in politics or business, and I really believe that, and I'm so thankful for you coming on today. We're down to the last 2.5 minutes. Given what you just said, do you have some sort of burning desire? Are you going to do a startup? Are you going to co-venture with some other young, creative folks and do something that's going to break and shift our paradigms and do something disruptive? Or are you going to become part of a greater organization? Are you going to go back and do something with Microsoft and Google or Stanford or Harvard or what? Talk a little bit to take the thread and tie the dots together here for us.
Right. Well, so Prote is really proliferating, and it is really a startup. Right now, my goal currently is to work as much hands-on with the hardware and the environmental exploration, because that's what I'm passionate about.
Right.
I think that in my life, I'm going to continue to go back and forth from a big organization and then my own thing, because I thought for a long time that I was just going to proliferate a startup.
Right.
But I do see a lot of power in working with corporate backing as well.
Yeah.
And I have a feeling that I'll just keep penduluming back and forth. And so I think that I'm going to try to do as much as I can to start my own thing. Yeah, definitely do work on a startup and probably a few startups that have to do with robotic sailing kits, proliferating kits, but then also connect with bigger organizations as well. So I do see my life going back and forth between working with big organizations and then working on my own to proliferate what I have personally to offer.
Gabriella, we're down to the last minute or so. For the generation behind you, for the young women around the world that are listening to this show today, share with them a couple of 2 or 3 pearls of wisdom on how to become the next Gabriella Levine.
Well, I guess I really work hands-on and I'm afraid to get dirty, but then I do it. I get my hands on and I start playing with hardware or with whatever. And I think that I see a lot of people have trouble taking that step to actually work with their hands and do what's a little bit frightening. And I guess just having some patience and getting over the fear of failing has been really critical to my being able to excel so far in just a few years with hardware and programming. So I guess that's the biggest thing that I would say. Getting over the fear of failing has really helped me just allow me to fail over and over and over.
Gabriella Levine, thank you so much. For our listeners out there to learn more about the great work she's doing, it's Protei, PROTEI.org and GabriellaLevine.com. Gabriella Levine, you are an inspirational technology and ecology savant and truly living proof that green is good.